Okay guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about grease pencil. I know you might have already seen a lot of grease pencil projects, really cool projects that people can do with grease pencil. Combining 2D animation and 3D animation makes it really one of the best tools of Blender in my opinion. And you might want to try it yourself, and the problem is when you're first getting started, it can be a little scary seeing all the menus and everything you can do. It can be overwhelming, so I'm here to help you with that. And so today we're going to see all the tools you need, all the basic knowledge you need to get started with grease pencil. So let's get started. By the way, even this transition you're going to see was made using grease pencil. Alright, let's get started. So when you open Blender for the first time, this is the menu you get. This is the splash screen, and if you want to use grease pencil, by default this is the easiest way to do it. You just click on 2D animation, and here's what you have. So basically it looks like any drawing software, any traditional drawing software. So this is your canvas, and you've got a bunch of menus around it, the tools you're going to use, and the timeline here. So let me just turn on real quick the screencast so you guys can see the keys I'm using. Alright, so now we have the screencast on. Right here you can see all the keys I'll be using. Okay, so when you're first in this viewport, what might scare you, the first thing is that when you accidentally rotate your view, the camera, you get out of your basic canvas and you're inside the 3D viewport. So basically what you need to know is that even if you are in grease pencil, you're still in the Blender viewport. So it's just made up to look like a 2D canvas, but you're still inside the viewport. So it's normal that when you roll out of the camera, you see this huge 3D space. If you want to go back into it, you just need to press 0, and it will place you back inside your camera. But if you don't have a numpad, you need to enable emulate numpad in your edit preferences. Let me check if I can show you. Alright, so you can see it here inside where was it again, input. You need to enable the emulate numpad, and I'm going to do this tutorial using a tablet. So if you want to know more about using grease pencil with a mouse, or just navigation in Blender with a mouse, I have a special videos about that one, all the keys you will need to navigate inside the viewport, and I'll link it inside the description. So basically, if you're using a tablet, you might want to turn on emulate 3-button mouse, so you can use the Alt key as your middle mouse button. So I'll show you right away how to use the tablet to navigate. Let me just take this cover off. Okay, so I got my tablet plugged in now. So I'm just going to show you the basic keys that you need to use to navigate inside this viewport. So if you want to zoom, all you need to do is Control Alt and click and drag with the pen of your tablet, like I'm doing here. You can see it's here inside at the bottom left of the screen, on the screencast. You can see the keys. This is for zooming, and you can also pan by using Shift and Alt. Okay, I forgot how to rotate. The rotation is a little bit tricky, so I drew real quick something so you can see how it is rotating. So if you want to rotate, you need to use your mouse. So here's how you do it. You press Control Alt and you click your middle mouse button, and then you can rotate like this. I don't know currently how to do it with a pen, but here's how you can do it with your mouse. But honestly we don't really use that much. I personally don't use it that much. Okay, so now let's take a look at the drawing tools. So like in any software, you have the brushes here, here on this menu you can see all the default brushes you have. So we have like some pencil, some pen and markers. Usually the one I use the most is this one, these two, because they look a little better than the other tools that feels a bit too digital, I would say. This one has like a kind of cool shape because it's not consistent. It changes as you add a bit of pressure on the pen, and also just by default it has a random shape. All right, so once you've selected your brush, you can change its size here by adjusting the radius here. So right now it's at 60 pixel, but if you choose to reduce it, it's going to look a little smaller. And the shortcut for this setting is the F key. You press the F key and then you move your brush, your pen, and you can increase or, oh, that's too big, or decrease the size of the brush. And here is the strength. Here it is for the strength. It's for the opacity of the brush. Right now it's set to 1, and if you reduce it, the same thing, it's less strong. And if you bring it back to 1, it's more visible. If you also want to use the pen pressure for the radius, like I'm using right now, you need to click this little icon here. So right now it's using the pen pressure, so when I apply more pressure it's going to be thicker and less if I release it a bit. Same thing for the opacity, but I'm not using it. I prefer to keep it at 1 so it does not change, but depending on the style you're going for, you can enable it or not. Also, you have the paint bucket tool here. We're going to talk more about this one later when we're going to cover the coloring part. And you have the eraser here. So the eraser, let me draw something real quick so you can see how to use it. You have 3 different erasing mode. The first one is like a soft eraser, which kind of reduces the opacity of the line until you don't see it, like any eraser. The other one is for points. So this right now deletes the points that constitutes the line, because the line we have drawn is made of little points, and this mode of erasing makes it so that you can delete the points. And this one is for stroke, so you delete it, everything, all the stroke all in one. So usually I go with point, so because it's a lot more convenient for what I usually want to do. So by default I use it. And if you're already in the draw mode and you want to erase something real quick without having to go here, you can hold Control and draw with your tablet, and when you're holding Control, it's going to toggle the eraser, so you don't have to always go back to here and use it. Alright, so after that we have like these 2 tools that I don't really use that much, and I don't think you will need them really often. This is for the tint. This one might be interesting to try out some stuff, but honestly I don't use it that much. This one either, I don't really use it. This is the eyedropper, so you can pick up some colors. Same thing, I don't use it that much. And here we have like some geometry tools which you can use to draw lines, and if you press enter you can validate the line. If you don't press enter, you can still change the orientation, the direction, the size, the length. And when you press enter, it validates it. Yeah, you have a bunch of others here, the circle, the box, and yeah, that's pretty much the ones you use the most. So I want to quickly show you the edit mode. So before that, I need to first go back into object mode so you guys can know exactly what I'm talking about, because I guess you have never used Blender before. So what you need to know about Blender is that by default this is the mode you are in. This is where you have all your objects, the mesh, the curves, the grease pencil objects and everything. They all share this mode, which is the object mode. And with that you have a bunch of other modes, like the edit mode, where you can edit your object, the sculpt mode, where you can use which you can use for sculpting and also kind of editing your objects, draw mode, which is specific to grease pencil objects, and weight paint and vertex paint, which are for other stuff you don't want to know right now. So when you are in object mode, you can't draw when you with a grease pencil object. So that's why we were in the draw mode. So here we are in draw mode, and this is specific to grease pencil object. So here we can do our drawings, but we can also go into edit mode, because as I was telling you earlier, these strokes are made of little points. So we can see the points if you select here the point selection mode, and we can see that this is made of little points. So we can select them and move them and do a bunch of other operations with them. So usually what you use it for the most is for thickening the lines. You can use some tools to make the lines thicker, like this. So you basically just select the tool and you click and drag the pen. It can make the line thicker or thinner. And you can also select the strokes by clicking like a portion of by selecting a portion of the stroke and clicking and pressing the L key, which stands for linked. So all the strokes, all the points that are linked with the selection are selected, and then you can move this whole stroke by pressing G. G is for grab. So in Blender, whenever you want to move something, you press G, like this. G or yeah, J. I don't know if I pronounce it well. G or J? It's J. G. Okay. So this is how this is one of the things that are different from what you would have on another software, where you would use like a lasso tool to do this kind of editing. So here, if you want to move this, you can select it like this and press G, and you can do other transforms like rotating by pressing R. You can also scale it by pressing S, and you can delete it by pressing X, and you can choose to delete the points like this. So I also talked about sculpt mode, which you can also use in grease pencil. So for that, you can just select this drop down menu and select sculpt mode, or you can also open the pie menu by clicking Control Tab, which opens the pie menu, which is a lot faster. And you can go to sculpt mode, and here you can use the sculpt tools to edit your lines. So it's really a fast way for editing lines that you've drawn. I use it a lot. It's really cool. It's the equivalent, I guess, of the liquify tool for other softwares like Clip Studio, for example. And so that's it. That's the most important things you need to know about the edit mode, I guess. So now we're going to look at this side, which is probably the most confusing one. Okay, so here on this side, you don't need to worry about all these other menu. So we, for grease pencil at this, we're going to focus on the ones you need the most. This one, which is where we can see our layers, and this one, the materials. And we'll also look at this one for the rendering. So all the others, you don't need to worry about them right now. We'll have time to talk about them when we are going to see how we can mix 2D and 3D. So for the layers, so here you have your layers like you would have on any other software. So by default, it tells you it enables use lights, which you don't necessarily need to, because it can make your drawings darker. So you can disable it. This is for when you're going to add like light objects that are going to react with your grease pencil lines. It can look really cool. I have a bunch of examples of how I used it, but by default you don't need it when you're just making a simple drawing. So here is how your layers are set up. So I'm going to delete these layers and show you how to create one. So you just press new layer and you have your layer here, and you can call it, I don't know, draft layer. And if you press this plus button, you can add a new layer. And it's the same as in other software. The layer that's on top of the layer that's on top is always has the priority on the layer that's below. So when you're, for example, making a line art layer like here, let's call it line art, and let's draw something like this. And if you want to make if you want to add a color layer, you just add another layer. You can name it color, double click and name color, and you need to push it, move it down below the line art layer. So for that you just need to press this arrow and it moves it down. And now let's look at the materials, how to set up the color. So for that you need to come here in the material tab. So here we have like a bunch of materials that are here by default. So what you need to know about materials is that they have two modes basically. So they can either be stroke or fill or both. So when it's set to only stroke, you can only draw with it. So when you draw, it's only a stroke, a line. But when you set it to fill, maybe it's better if I create a new, like for this one, let's call it fill. If you set it to fill instead and choose like a brighter color, so when you're using, even when you're using the brush, the draw tool, it's going to fill it. It's going to be a fill, right? So if you disable it and use stroke only, and let's give it this color. So now it's back to just being a fill. You can try to use both. It's going to have a line, and also, let me show you. Like for example, it's going to have a line and also the fill at the same time. It can be useful sometimes if you want to make some cool stuff with it. But usually I like to have some materials for the strokes and others for the fill. And yeah, basically that's how you create a material. You just press this plus button and you add a new material, or you can name it by double clicking here, and I don't know, you can name it orange. And if you want it to be a fill type, you can just enable fill down there and choose the color you want. And yeah, that's it. Basically that's what the materials are for. I didn't even notice I named it wrong. So, all right. So I said I was going to talk about the fill bucket tool. So now that we have our material, the orange, and our color layer, I'm just going to lock these so we don't use them. We can use the fill bucket tool. So for that we need to press right inside the shape we want to fill, but you can see that it's telling me here unable to fill enclosed areas, because we have like a little gap here. So for that it's okay. We can just add like a bit of color here and fill it. You see, so now it's filled. So this is how the fill bucket tool works. and you can edit it a little bit here. You can edit these values here to make it close gaps even when they are a bit wider, but honestly it's not really a problem for me. If the gap is small like this, I can just go back into the drawing the draw mode with the brush and close it myself. But you can play with the settings here. Okay, so now let's see how you can actually make an actual animation. For that, I am going to delete all with. Where is my cursor? Okay, my cursor is gone. Let me delete the layers we've created previously. Actually, I'm going to keep these ones. So you notice that when you create a layer, it's automatically created here a keyframe. But I think that's because I use auto-keying was on by default. But if you create a layer and it doesn't have a keyframe, you can also create a keyframe by pressing I, the I key, and click insert keyframe. This is for active layer, which is the layer you're on, and if you have other layers, you can insert keyframe for all layers if you want to. So right now we have this one. Let's create another one. Let's call this draft and color. Just put this one below. All right, so let's start. Let's just draw something real simple. Let's say I'll draw a circle. Yeah, let's just draw a circle right here. Here's our circle, right? So here we have our timeline. So if you want to create another drawing, let's say I move to I don't know, 5 frames, and I want to create a new drawing. So I just come here at the 5 frames later, and I'll just press I and insert a blank keyframe. So right now I am going to insert a keyframe only for the lines, right? So let me just lock this one, or I could just press active layer like this. So we have a new keyframe here. So what you're seeing here is like the onion skinning. So it's the preview, the precedent, the last drawing, the drawing that we just did before. So if you want to enable or disable the onion skinning, so you can do that here for the layers. So if you want it to only be disabled for this layer, you can click it here, but it's still available for this layer. But if you want to disable it for all the layers, you just need to come here and disable here onion skin. But it can be useful, so I'll let it be around. You can also disable it by disabling the overlays. So yeah, let's make a new drawing. Well, let's add some kind of, I don't know, anticipation. Like this, and let's move a few frames later. Actually, this is an occasion for me to show you how to use the sculpt tool. So I'll create another keyframe. I'll duplicate it, this one. So I'll click I and press duplicate active keyframe. And I'll come here with the sculpt. I'll come to sculpt mode, and I'll use my sculpt tool, which is this one, by default the push tool, and I'll push it a little further, like this. I'll push this also so it looks a little more natural, like this, and I'll do the same here. So if you want also to duplicate the keyframe, you can just click here, the keyframe on the timeline. And also, it's normal that you see 2 keyframes represented on the timeline here, because this is for the summary for like all the channels that exist, and this is for the stroke. So you see here that we have the keyframes for our line layer and the other keyframes for the colors, which only have one keyframe for now. So it's normal that it repeats itself here, but if you don't want to see it and be confused, you can also hide this drop down. So I was saying, if you want to duplicate this keyframe, you can also click on this keyframe and press Shift and D and drag the keyframe and place it wherever you want. So I want to place it like 4 frames later, and I want to push it a little further with the sculpt tool, like this. So here's how it looks like. And then I'm going to hold this pose, so I'll leave it here, and I'll come here and I'll make it across the screen like this. So I don't know, maybe I'll make a new drawing. So I'll just go here and I'll make a new drawing. So what you're seeing here when I am drawing is the stabilizer. So when you hold Shift while you're drawing with your brush, it helps you stabilize. How do you pronounce it? Stabilize the stroke. So it allows you to make like really cool and nice curves, even when your hands are a little shaky. So I use it quite often because my tablet is pretty small and I sometimes struggle with some curves, and it's also because you can't really rotate the canvas as much as you would do on other drawing software. So I use it a lot, so that's why it can be really useful for this kind of drawings. So I'll just try to do something like this, and I'll come here like a few frames later, and here I'm going into edit mode, and I'll press A, because A for all the is for selecting all the keyframes, and I'll just move it on this axis. So I'll press G, like I told you earlier, and I know that we are here. If you look here, you see that we are on the X and minus X axis. So if you want to constrain the movement here, you can just press G and press X, so it stays on the same axis, on the same line, like this. So I'm going to make this part a little smaller. So for that, I am going into point selection, and I'll select this by using the box selection tool, and I'll just press J and X, and you see that it's sliding inside the strokes, which is something we don't want. So if you want to avoid that, you can delete this. Oh, I don't have the screencast, sorry. Okay, I'll add the subtitles on this part if you want to see the shortcut. So I don't want this to slide inside these strokes, so I'm going to turn on proportional editing, which is going to have basically an influence of on these unselected points. So when I'm moving this, it's going to move these points also away. So if you press G, you have like the influence radius here. This circle here is showing you how much influence you have on the other points that are not selected. So right now the influence is enough, so I'm going to stick with it. But if you want to increase it or decrease it, you can use the middle mouse button. You can rotate it down to increase it, or up to decrease it. So right now it's fine for me, so I'm going to just press J and X and move it like this. So you see now the strokes are not sliding inside the other strokes we had here. So I don't even know what we are animating, so I'm just going to do things that look, I don't know, interesting. So I'll just duplicate this one, and let's make this part come a little closer. Like this. And let's repeat that. Okay, this is probably a bit much. Oh, actually, it might look a little interesting. So we'll do this, and then I'll duplicate this one, the frame just before. For this time, I'm going to move this. I'm going to use the sculpt mode to sculpt this out a little. I want this to have like a bouncy effect. It bounces here. It might be a little fast, but it's okay. And then we duplicate it another time. And this time I actually might want to delete this. And I draw another one, which is closer. So I'll add a bit of movement here. And let's finish it with a drawing of the circle we originally had, which won't be accurate at all. I'll just do something like this. And then, I don't know, maybe something like this, like a kind of overshoot. I did go out of the way a little bit here, so okay, and then let's stop it here. Okay, this is a little bit weird than the circle we had originally. It is okay. Okay, so I forgot to save. No need to save it. This is just temporary. So we have our keyframes here, and if you want to play it back, you can press play here, or you can press spacebar, and it's going to play back our animation, which looks really bad, but it's okay. So right now here you can see that we are playing back 250 frames, but we don't want it to be that many, so I'm going to slide this down until we reach here the end of our animation, which is around 59 frames. Okay, so here we can play it back, and it's going to loop. Like you see, animation is really slow, but yeah. So basically this is like what it's about, what animation is about in Grease Pencil. So now let's see how we can color these animations. Okay, so for that, let's go back to the first frame, and let's open our colors layer. So here, I learned a trick that I want to try here with you. So usually I would go into material and create a material. First, let's say, I don't know, just call it color, original. And I just select the color here, so it's green. And I'll just come and create keyframes for the color layers. For every line art layer, I'll create a keyframe and color it, right? But that's really too much work. We don't want to do that, because Blender allows us, Grease Pencil allows us to do it much faster by using this tool, the Multiframe, and I'll show you right away how we can do that. Okay, so in order to use the multiframe tool, we need to create other keyframes for our colors layer. So we're just going to create blank keyframes for all the line layers. So we're going to create a keyframe here, another one here. Alright, so I created blank keyframes for all the lines layer, and I'm going to now go into paint bucket tool, and I've created also a material which I'm going to select now. And right now we can see that here on this plus button, this shows us that if the paint bucket tool is set for coloring this part that we are clicking in. So this is why it's on the direction of the fill is set to normal. But if we click in minus, it's going to be inverted, which means that right now if I'm going to click outside of the drawing, it's going to color inside the drawing. So we're going to use this technique for all the other drawings. So for that, let's select a multi-frame, and let's select all the keyframes of our color layers, because we want this to be applied for all the keyframes. So I'm just going to click and drag here and select this with the box tool, and I'm going to click outside, and we can see that here. Now let me just hide the overlays. That all our drawings have been colored, right? This is pretty sick, and this is what the multi-frame tool allows you to do. So it's really a lot faster than having to draw it all by yourself, one frame by frame. So just like this, we've done all the work, right? Okay, so this is one of the many cool tools that you have in Blender. You have like this one, which is a game changer. The interpolate tool is really cool. Using the interpolate tool, you can like make a drawing here and place it here, and then make it interpolate what goes in between. It's really cool, and I'll talk more about it on another video. But right now I want to show you how you can render this drawing. So for that, you need to come here, this output tab, and here you can select the resolution of your final output video. So by default it's 1920 by 1080. So here we have the frame rate, and we have the frame range here, which we set here using this timeline. It's going from 1 to 57 frames. It's interpolating by 1 frame. And yeah, and also the most important here, the output, you're going to select where you want to render the final video. And by default I'll select desktop. And here you need to change the file format. It depends on how you usually work. Personally, I usually use PNG file format. Like I like to have the image sequence because I use them later on my editing softwares. But if you want to render a video, you can use the FFmpeg video file format. And also you need to change the encoding, which by default is Matroska, which is MKV videos. But if you want MP4 videos, you need to change it here to MP4. You also have AVI, QuickTime, and other stuff, web media, and also other stuff. So you can set the quality here. I don't change it that much usually. And yeah, after you're done, you just you can press Ctrl F12 to render, or you can just come here, render, and click on render animation. And when you're done, it should render your animation. So you have it playing like real quick. Also you see here that the little message is telling me that I need to enable combined and Z passes. which I thought it had done by default. It should have normally because we are in draw mode, but it apparently has not. So for that, it's simple. You just come here to view layer and you enable ZPass. So that helps the engine render grease pencil objects better, I guess. I don't know exactly. I think that's why. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that you need to get started in Blender. I think I covered it all. Yeah, that's it. I guess. Yeah, I think we're going to keep this video to only this part of grease pencil. And I'll make another video where I'll show you how to use 3D objects with grease pencil, how to actually draw inside the viewport while having 3D objects, like I did. Like I'll show you somewhere here on the car modeling tutorial, and also with the Goku animation. I'll show you how to do that. It's actually really easy to set up, but I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll keep that for another video. And yeah, that's it for this video. Also, I have one advice for you. If you really want to get better at grease pencil, my best advice is to download the software and try it for yourself, because there are things that you can only learn by doing it yourself. So don't hesitate to try it yourself and do little projects, drawings, so you can get familiar with the different tools. It also took me time to get good at grease pencil, because I really preferred other drawing softwares like Clip Studio, and I was like, grease pencil doesn't really feel like 2D software, so I was really not comfortable with it. But after I tried it and forced myself to learn it, it turned out to be really enjoyable. So my advice for you is to go out there and try it out for yourself, and you'll face some mistakes, some problems, but the Blender community is really huge, and there is chances that somebody has already solved the problems you are going to face. So if you encounter a problem, just Google it and search it on YouTube, and you'll find a solution. And that's it for this video. I hope you liked it, and see you next time. Take care.